Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Welcome to Money in the Morning, aka Economic Elevation, aka Financial Consciousness. My name is Dr. Boyce Watkins. I'm your friendly neighborhood finance professor, and I guess I got to start shouting out Morehouse too, because I'm a Morehousean or Morehouse. I think I'm a Morehouse man, but I feel like you should have to do more to be a Morehouse man. I feel guilty calling myself a Morehouse man. So shout out to the real Morehouse men out here. I'm just pretending, but I get a chance to help educate Morehouse men. So I'm excited about that because I think Morehouse men are great leaders and are going to be champions of the world because the rise of the black man will lead to the rise of the black community. Can I get an amen? All right. So, in case you don't know what we do every morning, we get together every morning. We talk about our economics because we know that money is power. Give me a yes if your goal is to have more wealth. Give me a yes if you want to understand how to make sure your family's secure. Give me a yes if you agree with me that part of the reason that we feel like slaves, kind of slave-ish, every day is sometimes because we're not economically prepared to stand up to the financial bullies that exist in our society. You know, that boss that tells you what to do and doesn't respect you, and the people that force you to do jobs that you hate and put you in situations where you're not comfortable, largely because you didn't have an economic plan put in place. Well, let me just tell you, the thing about finances and economics is that when you understand it, it becomes so much easier. And my dream for the Black community is that we become as good with our economics as we are with basketball, football, rapping, twerking, following our favorite celebrities, right? If we become as good at that as we are at everything else, then I guarantee you we will dominate, and it will make a big difference for you. It will make you happier, more secure. It'll help your relationships. There's lots of research. By the way, in case you don't know, we actually do have a financial therapy department. And one thing we have found is that there's a very strong link between trauma and economics. And it goes in both directions. That when your money's not right, that stresses you out. And when you're stressed out, your money won't be right. So that's just kind of a downward spiral, right? Like I'm stressed out because my money ain't right, but now my money ain't right because I'm stressed out because I'm going out and I'm buying liquor and weed and women and going shopping because I'm so stressed out about my life, right? And I don't want you to be stressed out. I want you to be happy. That's why we do our economics every day. We are extreme with this. I believe that racism and all these other things have been very extreme. So you have to be equally extreme to make sure that you end up winning, right? You have to be committed to the game. If you're not committed, then it's not going to work out for you. Okay. So let me tell you about something that's happening today that's really big, really interesting. How many of you have been following SpaceX stock? Have you been following SpaceX? Let me know. Give me a yes if you've been paying attention. I talked about SpaceX because, whoa, buddy, there's some shenanigans going on with that stock. It's up a little bit today, actually, but ironically, it's not actually down. It was down for a minute. It dropped as low as 106. The IPO price was 135. It went as high as 215. Now those people who bought at 215 are crying in their beer. They got body slammed. The reason that SpaceX stock is gonna get is expected to get slammed is because they're unlocking and releasing hundreds of millions of shares into the market, and it's not a one-time unlock. It's a recurring process. They're going to just do this over and 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 over, and it's just going to be bad. It's going to be very bad. And as Dr. DeVita tells me that I am not yet a Morehouse man, I have to work my way up to it. I want to say thank you for informing me of that. But I also want you to know that I've always been a man without a tribe. I never joined any Greek letter organization. I never really needed a label to feel better about who I am. My label is B1, right? So I'm a B1 man. Can I say that? If we got any other B1 men in here? B1 means black first. We got any other men in here that stand up for their families? Any women in here that are B1 that put their community first? Any B1? How many B1ers we got up in here that are standing up for their community, building wealth for the future, educating themselves, breaking generational curses, working on their mental health, working on their physical health? So I've been a B1 man, but I don't mind being a Morehouse man. So but at the same time, I have full respect for what it means to be a Morehouse man. But then again, think about it. I mean, if you've been a freshman for 20 minutes and they tell you that you're a Morehouse man, how come I can't be a Morehouse man and I'm teaching the freshmen? I mean, really, for real, you got to be fair here now. Seriously. I'm playing. I'm joking. Shout out to Morehouse. Love Morehouse. I met the dean from Grambling yesterday too. He's a great guy. Also, a lot of good HBCUs. I think that's where our kids should be going to college. That's where they get love. I wish I had gotten that in college. But anyway, with that said, let's go back to SpaceX. So SpaceX is interesting because SpaceX is a reminder when it comes to investing that that a good company is not always a good investment. A lot of people think that a good investing means identifying good companies, and that's just not the case. It's supply and demand is very important. The price of the asset matters quite a lot. When you buy the asset makes a difference, and it's like if somebody says, "Well, I can sell you a good car," your first question shouldn't be, "Yes, okay, here's my money." Your first response should be, "Well, what do you mean by a good car, and how much does it cost?" Right? So if they come up and they say, "Hey, I got a car. It's got leather seats, leather bucket seats, and chrome interior, and a V8 engine, and goes 0 to 60 in half a second," and you shouldn't just say, "Okay, well, here's a blank check. Let me just sign it now and just put the dollar amount in there. Just pay, just charge me what you want." You don't do that. What you do is you ask for the price because the price changes everything. The price, the price you pay is one of those sacred variables in economics, similar to time. Remember, I was telling you how time is the sacred variable that I want you to really understand that when your baby's born, they have a lot of wealth. They're millionaires because they own time. And we've talked about the 5-year pledge, where I basically said if you take the amount of money that you probably spend on your car note and you were to put that also into an S&P 500 fund, that your child would never have to ever work for anybody for their whole entire life. How about that for a gift for the kids? I mean, how about that for a legacy, right? And the hard part is that people just don't believe it. People say, "Oh no, you got to go work for white folks." Stop worshiping white people, man. Stop that white supremacy stuff. There ain't nothing magical about nobody, no other community that says your children are supposed to work for them. So anyway, with that said, though, the let's circle back. I was going back. I was talking about the investing. Yeah, that's it. So time is sacred. The biggest resource we waste in the Black community is not money. It's actually time. Time is what you waste. It takes 157,680 hours to raise a child from 0 to the age of 18, and during that time, not 1 ounce of energy is put toward investing for that child. So when they get out into the world, they don't have any money, and people wonder why. Well, it's because you didn't invest for them. When you don't plant a seed, you do not get a harvest. Do you understand that? Do we get that? Do we understand? I mean, this simple idea, but just let's confirm that we understand this simple idea. Put a yes in the chat if you understand that. If you want to harvest, you must plant a seed. Now, if somebody else gives you a piece of their harvest, that's not the same as planting a seed. That ain't really your harvest. Like, so if you get a job with someone's business, but you never built anything, then that's different. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm saying it's different, right? You're kind of indebted to the individual that gave you a piece of their harvest. So you got to plant the seed. So the question to ask is, okay, these are my babies. What seeds am I planting for my babies? So if you don't plant anything for your babies, then your babies won't have any harvest. But if you plant consistently for them, again, just give them the same love. Love your child as much as you love your car. That's it. I just want you to love your car, because I know a lot of y'all look like Negroes with good credit. And I'm sure you've been paying your car note on time, pay your bills on time, because they always tell you credit score, credit score, credit score. Absolutely. Credit scores matter. My good friend John Hope Bryant talks about credit scores all the time. But you know what? Guess what? Rich people don't need a credit score. You do understand that, right? You do understand that financially secure families don't worry as much about their credit score. You know why? Because they understand that a credit score is just a replacement for collateral. Collateral comes from what assets that you own. So if your child has $300,000 in assets because you invested for them consistently since they were a baby, I'm not saying they shouldn't have a good credit score, but they can go to the bank and they can say, "I got 300,000 in my investment account. I need you to loan me 100K by tomorrow or 200K by Tuesday." They can go get that money. Do you understand? In fact, somebody in this class, Tim Haskins from Lock In Loans, I talked to Tim for an hour yesterday, and he says that his bank, he's a mortgage broker, and his company has this interesting investing product that is something I'd never really seen, where basically they allow you to have access to your home equity in an account, but at the same time you're able to reduce the amount that you pay on your mortgage, because any amount of money you keep in the account, it reduces the amount that you have to pay. It's a really he's I'm gonna have him come in and explain it. I liked it so much that I told my wife about it. We're actually gonna sign up for it. And basically, what I like about it, I told him, I said, what I like about this is that number one, most people know that if you pay your mortgage off faster, it's gonna disappear quicker, and you're gonna pay less interest. You're gonna be done quicker, things like that. Number two, access to capital is one of the biggest barriers to wealth in the Black community. It's not access to jobs. Jobs, I'm sorry, Al Sharpton, but more jobs for Black people is not going to liberate anybody. It's just going to make us more indebted to other individuals. Um, and so by solving those two problems, where you're reducing the amount of interest you pay, you're getting access to capital, and you've got flexibility. And Tim was explaining, he said sometimes if your money's tight, you don't have to put as much in there, or you can pull some out, and so you can kind of move back and forth, like kind of in a flexible way. I said, yeah, that flexibility is nice because that relates to something we've talked about regularly called optionality. Options means that you have choices. You have things you can do based on changing economic conditions. A lot of us struggle and stress out because we don't feel free, and a lack of freedom is basically connected to a lack of options. When you are stuck financially and you can't make a move, well, that's gonna really be a lot of pressure on you, right? So I really like it. I'm gonna bring Tim in so he can talk about it. He's a big supporter of the Black Business School as well. So just so you know, that's the other reason why I was meeting with him, because he really believes in what we're doing. But and again, I don't give investing advice in that way, but I can say that I liked what he was saying enough that I actually said, I think I want to actually try that, because my wife and I want to pull some equity out of our house, one of our houses, and use that for some stuff we want to do. So his website, if you want to write it down, it's lockinloans.com. Lockin, LOCKIN, lockinloans.com. Feel free to take a look. This is not me telling you to do it. This is me telling you that I think it's worth taking a look. That's what I'm saying. Do we get that? This is not investing advice. The other thing too is, besides time being sacred, price is also kind of sacred. Price changes everything. Price changes everything. So um if I go into buy something and you tell me it's a great product and I'm willing to pay any price, then that doesn't even make any sense. Usually the next thing I'm going to wonder is like, well, how much does it cost? And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to compare the price I paid to what I believe the fundamental value is, what this thing is really worth. And if you want to know where money gets made, it's so funny. I have this friend. He's a rapper, and you might have heard of him. His name's David Banner. And me and David talk about once every 2 years. But whenever we talk, it's like we haven't. It's like no time went by. I love this guy. He came to our first all black national convention and did a great job. Him and Killer Mike and but then a lot of other, we had attorneys, we had Judge Olu Stevens and all kinds of people that were there that really made it rock out in Atlanta. It was really amazing. And I love him, but I saw him on a video. Did y'all see him? He performed that old song he did a long time ago. Uh, Real thugs get down on the floor. And he had this wig. Because he's ATL and they're part of the Dungeon family, Outcast and all that. And they do the pimp wigs, and this dude's running around with a pimp wig, and I'm like, come on, man. Really? It was so fun. It was funny to watch. And I know Dave is a great guy. He's got a lot of good confidence, so he's just in there just doing his thing. I was laughing about it. I wasn't saying like, man, this is a disgrace. It was more like, wow, man. Okay. All right, David. You can pull it off. I can't. If I show up wearing a pimp wig, y'all probably slap me upside my head. But anyway, one thing that David and we were sitting next to each other at an event in St. Louis. And in St. Louis, they did something really creative where they had a nightclub type setting with like the bouncer at the door. It was like a club, but we were doing nothing but financial literacy. He was there, I was there. I keep wanting to say Dr. Claude Anderson was there, but I don't. Was he? I don't remember. That's bad that I don't remember it. He might have been there. I think he might have. I don't know. Anyway, I should remember these things because I love Dr. Anderson. Anyway, so I was sitting there and I was telling him. I said we were just kind of whispering to each other as the thing was going on. I said, a lot of people don't even realize that business and money and making money really comes down to one. A lot of it comes down to one concept. And he said, "Well, what is that?" I said, "Buy low, sell high." Just sell something for more than what you paid for it. And here's the thing: if you mess that up, if you buy high and sell low, then you could have been in all the same investments as everybody else, but you lost. You lost money instead of made money, right? Right. So the mystery with the stock is like, or any assets that you purchase is the price I'm paying lower than what the true value of the asset happens to be? Right? And if the answer is yes, then you win. If the answer is no, then you lose. So price is sacred. That's my point. This is why in asset pricing, which was what I worked on in my dissertation, asset pricing comes down. A lot of it comes down to something called price discovery, like figuring out, well, what's the true price? And if you find out the true price is here, but you can buy it for this much, then you're in good shape. It's like if I go to a yard sale and they're selling a pack of baseball cards from 1930 and they're only $20, but I find out that it's a limited edition that's worth 20,000, then I've discovered the true price. And that makes it a good investment because I can buy them for $20, sell them somewhere else for 10,000. Another term they use for that is arbitrage. Arbitrage is just the ability to buy something one place for one price and then either sell it in another place or in another time. It's all about space and time, right? It's almost metaphysical. A lot of finance is very metaphysical. So you go to a different space and time and you sell it at a higher price than what you paid for it. And I agree with you, Terrence. Terrence says profit is not a dirty word. No, profit is not a dirty word. Profit, just because you make a profit don't mean you hurting somebody. It doesn't mean you're exploiting anybody. Sometimes you buy something and you just wait. You buy a house. Your grandma and your grandfather, maybe they bought a house in the 1960s for $20,000 and they just waited. And now the house is worth 800,000. This is to me important, right? Because you are the grandparents, by the way. You're not, you live in 2026. 2026 is not the future. 2026 can also be interpreted as the past. You may think that you're super advanced, but think about it. People in 1926 really thought that they had it figured out with technology. They thought they were the most advanced group of people to have ever lived, and they were actually at that time. In fact, the patent office shut down in around 1911, I heard, because they really thought that they had invented everything that could ever possibly be invented. They didn't think there were any more inventions out there that could be made. So don't, what's the word? Don't sort of flatter yourself by thinking that you figured it all out. There are going to be mysteries that will unfold where we will look back and say, man, if only we'd known then what we know now. Right? There will be things that we'll know in 2056 that were right here in our face the whole time that we never figured out. So anyway, the point is to say that time and price are really important when it comes to any form of asset. SpaceX is a great example. Here's the deal with SpaceX. And I say this without regard to the politics of Elon Musk. I know he's a complicated person, but let's put that to the side and really talk about the economics. That's what we're here for. Um, SpaceX is a good company, actually. It's innovative. They've done a lot of amazing things. The biggest thing that they've done that I'm most impressed with is probably reusable rockets. The fact that they figured out, and Musk boldly he did it at a time where everyone told him that it was impossible to do. He understood something that I've always believed. I put this on my Instagram that impossible is a big word used by small-minded people. Impossible is a big word used by small-minded people. So don't use that word. That's not your word. Let other people use the word. And when they use it, just say, it's okay. I forgive them for they know not what they do. And I want you doing, in fact, there are many things that you're going to do that are considered impossible by others, like raising your wealth level or your children never having to work for anybody. There are people who think that's impossible. They think it's literally impossible for a black person to live in America and not have to work for a white person. And that is very not just defeatist thinking, but that's actually a type of white supremacy, in my opinion, because you're spending so much time glorifying white people and what they built that you don't understand your own power. You haven't taken the time to figure out, like, well, what can we accomplish? What have we done? How great are we? And instead of us thinking about the adversary, think about yourself. Focus on yourself. And then what happens is if you spend all your time loving black people, you won't have time to hate white people. Getting mad at white folks for what they do and whatever, that's just not, I don't have, it's not that I don't care. It's not that I don't get it. It's just, I'm so busy. My energy has already been drained loving my family, loving my community, loving myself, loving you all, loving this, like that to me. And when I see all that there is to love, I don't have the time or the energy to hate nobody. It's just not interesting to me. So, so don't sit around being a hater, be a winner, love yourself. So with that said, so with SpaceX, the deal with SpaceX is that it is a great company that does pretty amazing things. Their revenue is growing pretty good. I think that their big plan for making money. The problem with SpaceX is that they just really, um, Elon Musk is like a technological version of Barnum and Bailey. That's what he is. He just gets out and tells these fantastical bullshit lies, and everyone believes him because they just are such big fans of his. And there's a little bit of credibility there because he actually did do pull off the reusable rockets. But he's like a basketball player that had one really great game, but every other game he was shooting like he was missing 80% of his shots. If you go back and look at the track record of all of Elon Musk's crazy predictions, almost none of them ever come true. He said that we would have driverless cars by 2018. I still wouldn't get in a driverless Tesla right now. I'll get in a Waymo, but I wouldn't get no Tesla. I mean, you'll probably live, but you might die. You might get decapitated by a semi truck. I'm not saying that's true for sure. I'm just saying that I'm not comfortable with driverless Teslas yet. I am comfortable with driverless Waymos because Google is very methodical. Google plays by the rules. They're very straight laced in terms of how they do things. Zoox, owned by Amazon, there's actually a black woman who is the CEO of Zoox. She's very intelligent. She looked nerdy. She looked like somebody who sits around and looks at data all day. And I respect that. I love that. And they'd spent years not even trying to make money, just literally testing the technology, testing the market, preparing it. Now they're finally going to charge money for Zooks, but they roll it out very carefully, very scientifically. That makes me more comfortable. There's just other things he said he was going to do. And now he's saying the company's going to make $1 trillion a year in revenue by the year 2030. Yeah, right. Right. And I think he's leaning on, in a way, or maybe instead of Barnum and Bailey, I would almost say he's like the white Diddy. Remember when Diddy used to do that? Diddy used to always make these big grand announcements about amazing things he was going to do in the black community, but he would never do any of it. I remember him saying he wanted to buy the Carolina Panthers, and I think he did it because he was a little bit of a drug addict. I don't know, a complete drug addict, but at least a little bit of a drug addict. I didn't interact with Diddy one time, but I used to hang out with Damon Dash and a lot, and he knew Diddy. And I remember there was a time where Dame was hanging out with Diddy, and there was a video he sent me where Diddy's sitting there, and Dame, I don't tell Dame I told you this, but Diddy's sitting there, and his leg is shaking like this. His leg was like just, and he was like he was really mad about something. He slammed the laptop down, and I was like, "Ooh, he looked like he's tweaking." And I because I'll go to LA. You go to LA, there's a lot of tweaking. Some of your favorite celebrities are straight up tweakers. I promise you. I met with another person. I'm not gonna say his name, but he's very well known. And I met him, and I said, I think this dude has a crack habit. He looking like he reminds me of Pookie the crackhead. And so anyway, so with Diddy, I wonder if the high of social media is what got him excited when he'd make an announcement. We're gonna buy the Carolina Panthers, y'all, and he gets like 10 million likes because everybody gets likes to get hyped and emotional about a big promise that doesn't actually amount to anything. And this is actually an economic problem in a community, actually, because when your promises and your commitments lose credibility, then credible people, serious people don't take you seriously. This is one of the reasons. In fact, if you read my book, The 10 Commandments of Black Economic Power, and I'm breaking down how culture and economics are connected, that one thing that you have to understand is that when you're building an economic infrastructure in your family, uh, the solid infrastructure must be built by solid people. That is hugely important in any type of meaningful economy. And so when you're the father of the house and you're constantly promising your daughter, yeah, baby, I'm gonna pick you up at school, I'm gonna take you to Disneyland, and then we're gonna get a private jet and go to Mars and all that. I mean, you got to stop writing checks that you can't cash. Like, stop saying stuff that you're not really gonna do. But there are people that don't do that because they get the instant gratification of making the big promise, but then they don't deliver on anything. And so what it does is it makes it much harder to transact later on in life because you say something and people are like, oh yeah, 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 whatever. You just talking. You always talking. That fast talking Negro, or it's Dr. Frazier. He calls them. He says there's the businessman and then there's the businessman. The business the businessman. So he said the goal of the businessman is to put the businessman out of business. No more, no, none of that businessman. You need the businessman, and you need to be a businessman. Did y'all catch that? Those was bars right there. All right. So anyway, so with that said, though, I would say that overall, when you're talking about SpaceX, Elon Musk, he's a businessman, but he's also a businessman. It's not just black people that do this. You have white people that do this as well. And I think that maybe for him, similar to say even a Dr. Cheyenne Bryant or whomever, there are people who just kind of believe that the publicity is always an asset no matter what. And sometimes that's true. But unfortunately, when the integrity isn't there, it becomes a problem. So with Musk, I think he's out here lying. That's the point I want to get to. I think the stock is significantly overvalued. I wouldn't touch it with a 10-foot pole. I wouldn't give it to my worst enemy. Any analyst out here who's out here saying that this stock is going to be worth two, three, $400 a share in the future, I question your motives. I'm trying to figure out what school of business did you go to that led you to believe that this stock would be worth that much? I'm not saying it's not possible. I'm not saying that it can't happen. Anything can happen. You know, I'm sure I'm sure that one day there might be a cow that can actually fly like a bird, but it's not probable. That's my point. It's not probable. So with these unlocks, with all this SpaceX stock being dumped into the market, supply and demand kicks in. So here you have this stock that people don't even want that much anyway. Because if they wanted it, the stock price would have gone up from the IPO. It would have started at 135, it would have went to 145, 150, 155, 160, stabilized at a higher level. Instead, it shot up to over 200 because people fan out over Elon Musk, and then it collapsed down to about 109, 110. Now maybe when it gets below 100, I might take a look at it and think about it. But even then, I'm not sure if the justification's valued. But that does not mean SpaceX is a terrible business. SpaceX is a good business. He's got millions of Starlink subscribers. I think Starlink is excellent. I like good Wi-Fi. I might subscribe. So Starlink is fine. I like the rocket thing. I think it's really impressive. I want to go to Mars. I don't want to. Well, I don't want to go, but I'm sure there'll be some white person who will volunteer to go before everyone else, and they'll probably die. But that's okay. They got the red. we got the ghetto culture. They got the Red Bull culture where they just go out and do dangerous stuff just for fun because as if their life isn't dangerous enough. I've been a black man my whole life. I've had people trying to kill me and stuff, so I don't need all that. But but I do want to go to Mars. I think they're going to send some robots to Mars or something. I think that'd be kind of cool to watch. I also believe in the AI aspect of what he's trying to do. One thing he's doing right now is he's trying to build a lot of data centers, and create these multiple gigawatts of computing capacity, and I guess rent and sell that capacity out to others. That's kind of, I think I'm gathering that that's like the big play for a lot of these hyperscalers. That they're investing heavily in AI because they see the AI compute demand growing over time. I think that that's a good bet. I really do. I think with AI, what's interesting is that AI is being used a lot by a lot of people, but over time, it's going to be used by even more people, and it's going to be used a lot more by a lot more people in a much more significant way. So it reminds me of when laptops first came out and computers first came out, and well, not computers, home computers, PCs, and all that. And Bill Gates, and people like that would say, well, why would anybody need more than 5 megabytes of memory, right? Which 5 megabytes won't hold nothing. That'll barely hold your term paper in college. And you see now we're in the terabytes in terms of capacity, right? People find more impactful and creative ways to use the technology. So if you move into a future where you're putting AI into robots, I saw a robot the other day where they shot the robot with like a 20 cal rifle, which by the way, if somebody shot you with that, it's going to blow your whole chest out from what I understand. And the robot just stood there, like it just hit the robot, and the robot didn't even flinch. So that heavy automation which is based in AI, which is going to become physical AI. It's not just gonna, it's a given that it's going to be out there, but it's also going to use a lot more of that data, right? So the amount of energy that you might put into doing a search on ChatGPT is that much, but the amount it might take to run a robot could end up being that much, which dramatically expands not just the number of people using the AI, but the frequency with which they use the AI and the depth with which their use cases start to grow, right? Like so when Boyce uses AI a lot, just more so on my screen. But and then when I got my agents use a lot of AI. Then when I get my robots, because I got to have me a robot, because some of them look kind of cool. They have one that look like a little dog, and you could put your stuff in it, and it could go around with you. And I thought I was like, I want one of those. Yeah. So my Boyce's robots are going because I'm gonna have me a whole posse of robots, and my robots are going to use even more data than I'm using right now, right? So this is what they're banking on. They're banking on this whole economy. So here's the deal. if Elon Musk is right about his vision, he will be proven to be one of the great thinkers of all time, the great visionaries of all time. I'll give him credit for that. Because what he's trying to describe is an economy and a world unlike anything we've ever seen before, unlike anything that we can imagine. I don't believe him though. I think that he's doing a little bit of a Barnum and Bailey. I think that he plays his followers a little bit, like he knows that they're fanboys and that they believe anything he says. And so he gives them these fantastical valuations that make no logical sense whatsoever. And they pay for it. Why? Well, because most retail investors they don't know the things that people like me know. I have a whole PhD in finance. We would sit around with calculators and pieces of paper and figure out what the value of a stock really was. And it involves advanced calculus and heavy mathematics to do this. How many people are really doing that when they pick the price of a stock? They don't do that. They'll pay, you say, well, it's $200. They say, okay. They buy it the same way people buy a pair of jeans. Like, why is a Gucci bag? Why would somebody pay $800 for a Gucci bag? Because they just want it and they just feel okay doing that, right? And there's nothing wrong with that actually necessarily. The problem is though, if you're picking stocks the same way you pick designer jeans and Gucci bags, then that can get you into some significant economic trouble because what happens is that you engage in what Dr. Claude Anderson refers to as the doctrine of unequal exchange. Does anybody know the doctrine of unequal exchange? How many of you have heard of this? Tell me if you've heard of this. This was in, I think you talked about this in Powernomics or his other book, Black Labor, White Wealth. And we've talked about some of this stuff before. And by the way, we've done over 700 or 800 trainings in Money in the Morning. Anybody who wants all the recordings, you can get the recordings in one of two ways. You can either go to moneyinthemorning.com. If you go to moneyinthemorning.com, you can come live for free. The recordings, we put them together in a package. That there's a fee with that. Or so moneyinthemorning.com, or if you sign up at b1village.com, we'll give it to you for free. B1 Village is kind of like our LinkedIn for intelligent Black people, or like kind of like a social media space where you can connect and set up a profile and connect with people specifically that are in this space. So if you go to b1village.com, I put the link in there for a coupon that gives you free lifetime access to all the recordings of all the Money in the Mornings that we've ever done. So feel free to go to b1village.com and you can, it's right there at the top of the feed. So just go ahead and grab that. All right. So anyway, with that said, the doctrine of unequal exchange is this. The doctrine of unequal exchange is what Dr. Anderson talks about when he talks about the Europeans exploiting Africa. And what Dr. Anderson felt was that he said that basically they came to Africa and they saw all this wealth, right? All this gold and all these minerals and Africa, in case you don't know, Africa is the richest continent on the planet in terms of just raw wealth and resources that have value. Africa is just off the charts. And so when they got there, they said, "Oh wow, look at this! You got oil and gold and silver and all these other things." And the Africans, I guess, because there was so much abundance, didn't necessarily see all that in the same way the Europeans did. Europeans would murder each other over gold. I don't think that was African culture. I don't think Africans needed to. They're like, oh, there's plenty of gold. Let's just throw it away. Mansa Musa just giving gold out like free cheese. So whatever. So basically, what he says is that that they would trade, and so they would take the gold and the minerals and the assets, and then we would get like Bibles and stuff and I don't know, like worthless trinkets and just stuff that we thought was interesting. Now, is that true? And completely, I don't know exactly every piece of it, but I know he talks about it in his book, Black Labor, White Wealth. And in Black Labor, White Wealth, which is that is the reparations study. If somebody knows Kamala Harris, let her know, because I remember they brought up reparations to her, and I give her credit. She talked about reparations. Obama refused to talk about reparations. Dr. Julianne Malveaux, who has a PhD in economics from MIT, she told this story. I saw Julianne recently. I got to call. I'm going to call her again this week. But I should bring her in. But she said that she interviewed Barack, and when she brought up reparations, that Barack instantly ended the interview because he basically was, I guess, advised like don't touch that topic. But this was back in like 2010 or something like that. So maybe things have changed since then. So Kamala brought it up, and I appreciated that. I really did. And the thing that she said that I'd love to support her on is she said we need to do a study. We need to study reparations. And what somebody like a Dr. Claude Anderson would say is, I've been studying reparations for 40 years. The study's already been written. And it's not just Dr. Anderson. There's another book called The Debt Tell me the author of that book. I'm bad with names, but the author of that book that wrote The Debt, I can't remember his name, but there's been a lot of books written on that. Ta-Nehisi Coates has done some good work on just the economic history of America, right? So the studies have been done. It's not like, oh, we need to do a study. And so in Black Labor, White Wealth, Dr. Anderson, Randall Robinson, thank you, Janelle. So what Dr. Anderson did in Black Labor, White Wealth, which is really helpful to those of you that want to understand how economics in America shaped out, is he will tell you specifically like what the price of a slave was in 1802 and how the price of the slave jumped when they invented the cotton gin. Or he'll talk about just exactly how much money different regions of the country made because of slavery. And it just really kind of connects the dots in terms of helping us understand why the wealth disparities exist. But also that doesn't explain though why the wealth disparities persist. Do you understand? It explains why they exist, but it doesn't explain why they persist. We play a big role in why they persist. They say that you can't control whether or not life knocks you down, but you can make a decision about whether or not you choose to get back up. So if I see you on Tuesday and you get knocked down, it may not be your fault, and I understand that. But if I come back the Tuesday after that and you're still on the ground, then I'm gonna say, why did you choose to stay on the ground? Like what's happening here? So we can't control what happened in the past. We can't go back and fix that. We can't change what they took away from us and what they did to us. But where we do have a choice and we do have agency and we have power is we get to decide what's going to happen here from here on out. Once you have awareness of the depth of the problem, then you've opened the door to have the capacity to solve it. So here I stand as somebody who has studied money for a living, and I'm here to tell you that the solutions are not as hard as you think. It's really a matter of habits and culture. So if you've gotten into the habit of economic self-destruction, then what you have to do is confront that habit and fight to have new habits. And new habits are formed through repetition. And that's why we do class every single day. I don't want to talk about this once a month. I want to talk about this every single day until we get it right, until we are the best in the world, until our kids have a clear path, until we know exactly what to do. It's literally a couple little simple pivots you can make that will make a massive difference, but you have to be committed to the idea. Okay. All right. Now, one thing I want to mention is I want to show you something here. And actually, I should give a shout out. We have some like Black Wealth Warriors who are leaders in class attendance. So let me see. Royal Calhoun is on the 29-day streak. Shout out to Royal Calhoun. Clap for Royal. Ricardo Stalwart, Lisa Jackson. The Ricardo's on a 24-day streak. Lisa's on a 17-day streak. The most sessions attended is Lisa Jackson. So she's out of the last 409 sessions, Lisa has come in 398 times. Angela McKinney has come 380 times. In fact, she's been here 341.4 straight hours. So you're a legend, Angela and Lisa. And then Royal Calhoun has come in the last 376 out of 409 sessions. And just so you all know, in the last year and a half, you all have logged 101,000 hours combined total studying Black wealth. Tell me that's not a money move for our community. Tell me you're not proud of that. So just so you know, and I've got some leaderboards and stuff here as well. And I'll just mention some names quickly just to make sure. If I didn't say your name, don't think that you're not important. Let's see. James Keller, James Brown Jr., Elijah Williams, Tamara Galloway, Marissa Boyer, Veronica Ganny, Stephen Gordon, Shantae Moore, Wanda Henderson. Shout yourselves out. I want you, and I want you to shout yourselves out because Lewis Stevenson and Michael McNeil and Taram Turnbull. The reason I want you to shout yourselves out is because you don't understand. If you knew what I knew, then you would get really excited because this is where champions are built. This is where you get the Muhammad Ali's and the Floyd Mayweathers and the national champions in the sense of greatness. This is where greatness comes from. Greatness comes through the repetition. And so the fact that you're sitting here and you're talking to a finance professor every single day, and as well as part of a collective that's doing that, you're going to take your family to the next level. Like you're taking your family to Mars. I want you to just really understand that. Like you have that ability to go in and share ideas that people some families won't understand these ideas for another 100 years, if at all, if ever. These are not, it may sound simple. Sometimes we may talk about things and it may sound like oh, Boyce is being ghetto because he's talking about David Banner wearing a wig on stage. But no, these are advanced financial concepts that have just been related to the things that you already understand. Right. So don't make no mistake about it. This is where the wealth comes from. Wealth is actually quite simple when you've seen it, as in as many different angles as I have. You just kind of know where to pick out the key spots. So carry that with you. Be proud of yourselves. And I just want to commend you. I just want to take a moment to say, great job. Thank you for being a part of this. I'm super excited about this. All right. So with that said, so with SpaceX stock, I would be extremely careful. If you want to note stocks that I'm invested in heavily lately, my favorite rocket stock is Rocket Lab, RKLB. I've been investing heavily in Rocket Lab, and because it has good cash flows and it's among the more stable of the stocks. Also, it has great optionality. I can actually sell options on the stock and use that to pay bills. You can pay People don't know you can pay bills with your stocks. So you sell the options, you get a bunch of money. Micron is another one. I just sold some options on Micron, and I had a credit card. Me and my wife, my wife's a little. I married a bougie woman, but she's bougie on a budget, so that helps. But she is definitely bougie. She'll walk into a 4-star hotel and turn her nose up and be like, "No, I don't want to stay here, boys." And so but that's the life I chose. But she's a hard worker though, so she earns it all. And anyway, so we had a credit card bill, and so I was able to sell the options on my Micron stock, take the money, and then pay the credit card off, right? So if you want to get good at that stuff, feel free to join us in the options class. If you want to see, I did a training called How to Make Money Without Working. You can take a look at that at drboyceoptions.com. That's drboyceoptions.com. And also those of you that are doing options and investing, we're going to do some stuff at the All Black National Convention as well. That's going to be in Jersey City the weekend of October 16th. So you can feel free to go to allblacknationalconvention.com. That's allblacknationalconvention.com. Okay, so let me share a couple more things with you before we finish up. And just so you know, in case you're not inside the Zoom, if you want to get invited to the Zoom, text the word morning to the number 87948. So if you text the word morning to the phone number 87948, I will invite you into the Zoom into class. All right, so let me show you some stuff on Instagram. I did some things to just kind of figure out wealth and remind us who we are, and just informative things, and then some stuff just flat out goofy and corny, but I want to share it with you. So give me a second here. Let me share my sound. Okay, so did y'all know that there's this type of dance they do in Romania or something? It's like a white country. It's not black people, but it's literally like this dance where people are moving their feet really fast, but it looks like they're floating. Has anybody ever seen this before? Let me show you. And I just thought it was fun. I put a little stupid meme and I said, "This is me floating to my wife to tell her that she's always the problem, not me." Right? But watch this. This is crazy. I sent this to our daughter. Check it out. Isn't that crazy? And literally, those are his feet. He's not riding a. I thought he was riding a little scooter. I thought he had a little moped or something. Or no, but those are literally his feet, like making him move like that. I didn't know. Look at that. Tell me that's not amazing. Tell me that's not white excellence. That's some white excellence, y'all. I don't know. I don't know no black people who can do this, but I'm sure if we decided to enter that sport, we take that one over too. Some real white excellence. So shout out to him. This has nothing to do with finances. I just thought it was funny. All right. So anyway, here's something that does have to do with finances. So let's get back to this. So I did a little video of kids talking about wealth. I like this kind of stuff, and it makes me think about what you don't want your kids to say about you. And these are simple ideas that I think can resonate, make a difference for our lives. So here we go.
Y'all be preaching generational wealth on Sunday, then the bank app sending me insufficient funds by Monday. Auntie, that lace front costs more than my whole college fund. You investing in hair or the future, sis? Uncle renting that Lambo for the gram, but the real flex is compound interest, not the temporary whip. Grandma left the house in the will. Y'all sold it for a Dubai trip. Now my inheritance is just air and vibes. Parents, the check come and disappear so fast the bank think we running magic tricks every first of the month. If half the money from nails, fades, and takeout went into index funds, we'd own the whole block by now. Y'all be preaching generational wealth on Sunday, then the bank app sending me insufficient funds by Monday. Auntie, that
Okay, so yeah, so don't so all isn't there something in the Bible that you're supposed to leave your children an inheritance? It's those of you who know the Bible, put that verse in there. I don't have that verse in front of me, but literally, I think that's if you talk about making progress on wealth in all seriousness, leaving the kids an inheritance that has to become a part of Black culture. You cannot have alleged Black culture where the kids are just left with nothing and forced to start over again. And my friend in Africa who's extremely wealthy, and that one thing she said is she said, I don't understand this about African Americans. I don't understand how they believe they can build wealth by starting over again every generation. That doesn't make any sense. And so, and if you think about that, that's absolutely true, right? Like, how could you can't win a race if you stop running and go back to the starting line every, if you're running a marathon and every mile you go back to the starting line and start over again, you're not going to win. Thank you, Mia. Mia says it's Proverbs 13:22, King James Version. A good man leaves an inheritance for his, was it children's children? Yeah. I mean, so it's not just your children, it's your children's children. It's the grandkids too, right? And a lot of you are grandparents. All the grandparents, shout out yourselves in here. I know there's a lot of grandparents in here, a lot of elders, and then there's a lot of young people in here as well, because I want you to, wealth training should be a family endeavor. If everybody in the family is trained on the same culture, then you don't have as many generational divides or cultural divides, right? Everybody listens to grandma, you listen to the kids, you listen to the parents, everybody's contributing, everybody has a job, right? Wealth is a team sport. Wealth is gang affiliated. So your family is your gang. Your family is the first economic institution that you're ever affiliated with. So you protect that asset. And remember, an asset only adds value if it's properly managed. An asset that is improperly managed will become a liability. Just like food that is not properly stored, it spoils and it rots. And next thing you know, you got maggots in your kitchen. So you don't do that. You get the food, you preserve it, you take care of it, then you cook it properly, and then it becomes a delicious, healthy meal. But if you don't, then you know what's going to happen. Well, the same thing is true with the family. You protect it, you nurture it, you cook it properly, so to speak, right? You manage that asset. And then the other thing about think about this when you're cooking food, you have to know how to cook. You take the time to learn how to properly make a steak, right? How to properly make chicken, right? You don't just wing it. But with family, people wing it. People they neglect it and ignore it. Because I mean, why would you spend time with your kids? Because the white man needs you at that job every day, right? And then we don't value the relationships. We don't take time on getting training on how to do it. Go to school 4 years, learn how to keep our job, but not go to school anytime to learn how to manage our family, how to be a good spouse, how to be a good parent. None of these things. We just wing it over here. But then over here, we got to be super precise. Well, why would we be precise over here and not precise over there? Well, because the people who are allowing us to babysit their assets, meaning our employer, they're not going to let you come mess their stuff up the way you mess your stuff up. They're not going to let you come run Amazon the way you run your Black community. That I really believe that's how they look. They're like, look, when you bring your Black, we'll hire the Negroes, but don't you bring that stuff up in here. You go up into Amazon and start gang banging and shooting up the ops and cussing people out for no reason. Your ass, you will be out of there. They're not gonna let you. They're like, no, you're not gonna run our asset the way you're running your own because we don't respect you as people that are able to develop and nurture much of anything. And I hate saying it like that. It sounds mean, but sometimes the truth doesn't care about our feelings. So, it's priorities. I really truly believe, again, it's not about changing who you are. It's not about doing anything different. It's really taking who you already are and just applying it in a different direction. You're already working hard. I'm just saying, work hard for yourself. You're already spending money. I say, just spend money on your future. You're already taking care of assets. Just take care of your own. And that's going to be hard. It's going to be a hard fix for a lot of us because remember, since slavery, and Dr. Anderson writes about this in his book, Powernomics, his website's powernomics.com, by the way. I hope you'll go visit. Um, he talks about how in slavery, the master's kids were always taken care of quite well because they were taken care of by their parents and by us. So the black kids were the ones who were left at home hungry and raggedy and not properly managed because mama would have to leave at 4 in the morning so that she could be there early to, when the master's kids woke up, and then she would come home at night after master and them went to bed, right? So how is that much different from now? Where our children our people, all of us, we will leave our children in the morning to go take care of somebody's business, and then we come home at night, right before the kids go to bed, and then we wonder why the kids aren't properly behaving. Well, maybe in some cases they weren't properly guided. Maybe they're an asset that never received adequate investment. An asset that does not receive investment is not an asset that's going to thrive. It's an asset that's going to die. It's an asset that's going to lose its value. That's whether you talk about an automobile manufacturer, you're talking about a human being. When I see children out in the streets acting a damn fool with no guidance, I say, "Oh, that's an asset that's depreciated because nobody has invested in that child." And then when I say, "Well, we should invest in our children," and then next thing you know, and when I get online and I'm hearing men say, "Oh, you a simp because you want to invest in kids," and I'm like, "Oh, no wonder. Oh, no wonder our kids are lost because the men are a bunch of punks." Not all the men, not all the men. I'm not talking about, if you are one of those men, I'm talking about you. But if you're not one of those men, then I was not referring to you. But you know what I'm talking about. You cannot have a great community built where the men are punks and the women are selfish. Doesn't work. So figure out what kind of community do we want to be. All right, so let's go ahead and wrap everything up for today. Reminder: the All Black National Convention is the weekend of October 16th. This is the week where the all the passes are discounted 30% to give you an opportunity in case money's tight. I understand that. And so you can go to allblacknationalconvention.com and get your passes for your children, your family, etc. I got a message Shar again about the children's track because she did say that it was full, but I want to really try my hardest to expand that because I want us to have space for as many kids want to come because the kids are really important in all of this. Number two, don't forget if you want free access to all the recordings for Money in the Morning, feel free to sign up at B1 Village. I'll be over in B1 Village. You can connect with me. You can send me a note, and we connect, just like kind of like LinkedIn in a way. Basically, it's great because with the changes in technology, it's easier to create stuff like this. So we said let's just create our own space where we can do this thing. Also, Larissa Humphrey is going to teach something on the 11th. It's going to start. It's basically on how to pay zero taxes. Larissa, you guys know her. She's really good at what she does. So make sure you're on the text list. I'll send out the link. Text the word morning to the number 87948. And Melvin says, "Is the hotel discounted for A, B, and C?" I don't know if the hotel did. In fact, why don't we do like a few minutes of Q&A? So if you're inside the Zoom, put your question inside the Q&A section. I'll answer some questions. But yeah, I don't know how much discount there is, or there was a discount. I don't know if it's still there though. I think there might have been a deadline for that, but I'll double check. Do you have to sign up for the children's track after the ABC registration? No. Once you get a children's ticket, I believe that you actually your child is in the children's track. I don't think there's any special sign up, but that's a great question. I need to go ahead and make sure I write this up. So give me a second, because I'll make sure I get this to Shar so I can answer these questions later. I got a good team, so I don't have to do everything. But yeah, so okay, so one question that I'm saying this to Shar now, so I can document this. So one question, Shar, is do people have to sign up for the children's track after they get their ticket? Okay, what's your next question here? Do you have a recording from last night's book club? Uh, yeah, blackkeystogreatness.com is where she puts all the recordings. So if you go to blackkeystogreatness.com, you can get the recordings there. So that's where that would be. Okay, okay, looks like you guys don't have any questions. Okay, so if you don't have any questions today, then maybe next time we'll do another one. But Jen says last night was fire. You know what's so funny, Jen, is that I do this stuff so much that I don't even remember everything I did the day before. I literally have to go look at it again, and because this is it's like part of my soul. Like I literally every day go out and just do my best to do the job and complete the mission. I can't even remember what I did yesterday. I remember we were there last night, but I don't remember exactly everything I said. But that's what repetition does in a way. It kind of just sits in your subconscious. So like when I go to sleep, I dream about this stuff, but I dream in metaphors. Like I've been watching Game of Thrones a lot, Like I told you Game of Thrones is should be called dysfunctional white people with high self-esteem because they all speak with proper English, but they do like really savage stuff to each other. And it's a great show. And I had a Game of Thrones dream, but I think that it's an analogy, I guess, to the battle that we're in. We're like in a war. We are in a war for our children, a war for our souls, a war for our freedom, a war for our culture, and we have to win the war. And you win wars by having strategy. You have to have coordination, collaboration. You got to have courage. You have to have resilience, like extreme resilience. Like if you think about this, and most people, even when people win a battle, you're usually bruised and beaten up and bloody when it's over. So if you get punched in the face and you can't keep going, then you're never going to win anything, right? Any worthy adversary is going to do some damage, right? That's why you pick your battles, right? You go to war when it's necessary, but you avoid war if you can, right? I'm not going to war with white people. That's not it. But I am going to war with white supremacy and evil. I'm going to war against mediocrity and bad culture. I want to go to war against ignorance. I'm not a fan of that because ignorance leads to death and destruction and horrible outcomes. So, in my view, we are in a battle, and in my goal every day is to show up and to be the best soldier I can be. And if I'm kind of a little bit of a captain in this war, then so be it. Let's fight the damn thing, right? And at some point, my reign will end, and others will step in, and it's going to be okay because the goal is to have decentralized leadership where everybody has individually committed to what we're doing. I don't want you to commit to me. I don't want you to commit to this because of me. I want you to commit to it because of your kids and because of yourself and because of your own personal experience with this. You're here for a reason, right? You're here for a reason. You're here because you went through something that made you say, okay, I don't like this. I'm going to fix this. Right? You went through some kind of trauma. Give me a yes if you're in this category. Like you probably went through something where you're like, okay, this is just too much. I'm not living like this no more. Right? Like this, like daddy shouldn't have did that. No, mama, why did you mess up the money? I don't like being around any of it, right? It doesn't feel good. So something had to call you to battle, just like it did for me. And whatever that was very personal for you. And maybe what this space really does is it just validates those feelings that you have and says, let's figure out a game plan. Let's figure this out and let's do this together. And that enhances our ability to win. We're creating wealth in this space because economic theory says that wealth is actually created when people come together and they share resources. The resources might be ideas, it might be connections, it might be investment, it might be whatever, right? But literally, that's one of the reasons why during slavery, they made it illegal for slaves to gather together. If two or three, four or five slaves got in the same place, they'd be like, no, 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 y'all got to disperse because they know that coming together is a type of power in itself. It's a type of wealth in itself, and we know wealth is power. Power is wealth. They're all connected. Okay. I see a couple more questions right here, so let me go and answer these. Okay, if you have a 401k that's around 500k, who could I reach out to borrow against if I'm no longer working? Usually, whoever manages your money, if you reach out to them and you say, I'd like to borrow against my assets, they usually have some mechanism in place to do that. I like even if you have an account with like Schwab or E-Trade or something, if you just say like, "Hey, I want to borrow against this money. What do you have? What kind of program do you have?" They probably have something. And then if that doesn't work, you can call your bank and tell them that you like as long as you can prove that you have the asset and somehow they can collateralize it, like make it so that because what happens is when something becomes collateral, you can't just use it. It has to sit there and be protected because banks have to preserve their collateral. That's what happened with the Uncle Nearest thing, the whiskey brand. They bank felt that their collateral wasn't safe, so they said, no, 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 we busting up in there. We're gonna protect our stuff. So that's kind of what that was. All right, so let's see. Do you still play shooter games live on YouTube to relax? I don't. I actually don't. I haven't played Call of Duty in a while. I started playing with some other guys who are my age, and I kind of miss it. I haven't had time to do that as much, but and I know when I go over to Morehouse, I ain't gonna have time to do none of that. So it might be a while before I'm back out there. But great question. It makes me think I should probably try do that again. What was the name of the ETF you mentioned earlier? Rocket Lab, Courtney. It's not an ETF. Rocket Lab's a company, and that's RKLB. This is not investing advice, but I do own a lot of Rocket Lab, RKLB. Let's see, Michelle Roper. How can I homeschool my kids when I have a full-time job as a teacher? Same as a teacher. Okay, so Homeschool, in my opinion, Michelle, it doesn't mean taking your kids out of school. I think it means making sure that they're getting some kind of educational supplement at home, right? So I am not here to say like, oh, take your kids out of school. All public schools are terrible. I don't believe in those extremes. I do know, though, overall, public schools have not been adequate in giving children everything they need to be successful, certainly not what they need to be financially secure. So, the financial security part, even if you just took that part and said, I'm going to make sure that my kids understand what financial security looks like, so they don't make the mistake of thinking that it comes in the form of a good job or a high income, that's huge. That's massive. If you literally, my wife was, I told you my wife is bougie, but she was also rich when I married her. My wife wasn't broke. She wasn't some broke lady looking for a man to take care of her. She already had resources, and the reason that she had money was literally because her father, Dr. Francis Taylor, who was a great man, he taught at Tuskegee 30 years in social work. He wasn't even a finance guy. He said two things. He said, max out your 401k. Well, really three things. Max out your 401k, buy a house as soon as you can, and live below your means. That's it. The end. That was the whole financial lesson. And then she spent 20 years executing her father's plan, and and the wealth accumulated because of that. That's literally enough. All the other stuff, everything else that we talk about is extra. That's just you knowing the nuances. It's like if you're trying to learn how to drive a car, you don't have to know how to design a car and build a car, change the oil, or put an engine in the freaking thing. That's extra. You just got to know, like, okay, this is the steering wheel, this is the gas pedal, this is the brake. Don't hit the gas pedal when you're trying to hit the brake, because that's going to end badly for you, like it did for our daughter when she drove the car into the house. Don't tell her I told you that. That was crazy. I had to get I to replace everything. But still, that's it. If you know those basic things, and don't hit nobody, like don't drive the car into nobody, be careful, make sure you know red light versus green light. Driving's not complicated. Cars are, but driving's not complicated. So same thing is true with wealth. Building wealth is not complicated. It's really not. We make it hard because we think the solution has to be complex. And we talk ourselves out of doing the basic things that we know are required in order to make it happen. What becomes more interesting, though, is when you do learn the complexities, the value of that is that you learn all the creative ways that you can make money, all the creative ways that you can preserve the wealth and benefit others and create jobs and things like that. That's the fun stuff too. That's a lot of fun. All right. So see, what do you think about iShares, Linda? I like iShares. They have a lot of different ETFs from what I understand. But I mean, as a company, I think that they're great. Jen, have you been getting up to for the 5 a.m. club? No, I have not. I got up today at 7 o'clock, so I was lazy as hell. I getting up at 7 a.m. I don't know what's wrong with me. That was yeah, I know. But some days I do, some days, but I was a little tired. Yeah, so let's see. Nicole Johnson, please consider live trading sessions and market structure course for those that want to trade for a living. Thank you. That's a great question. So with trading, Nicole, I think the swing trading makes more sense to me. Day trading, not as much. I think day trading is a little bit, it's very stressful and it's not proven to make consistent profits. But swing trading can work a little bit, and with things like leaps and stuff, and I will consider that as well. Thank you. And I'm going to try to see what I can put together. I got to be careful because I'm doing the fall semester, but and money in the morning won't change. I'm still going to do this every morning because my classes at Morehouse don't start till the afternoon, and it's only 2 days a week. And so what I am going to have to move, though, for those of you that are in the stock market class, that's going to move to Fridays at 1 p.m. Eastern. So, and if you want to do stocks with us every week, just go to drboystockmarket.com, drboystockmarket.com. You'll like it. It's in the stock market, it's the biggest wealth builder that there is. So that's what we actually do in that class. All right, so let's see. Catherine Burst, is there a discount on the bus tour? I don't think there's a discount on the bus tour, Catherine, and it may sell out soon. So I don't think there's a discount on the bus tour. That's going to be Thursday. We're going to do a tour of Harlem. We couldn't get two. I think they got two buses, and that's the most they could get. So that one's almost filled up. But yeah, there's no discount there. But for everything else, there is. So allblacknationalconvention.com. The code word is legacy, by the way. The code word is legacy. So put that in when you get your pass, and that'll reduce everything by 30%. Michelle Roper, can you put together a weekend schedule for what Black kids need to learn that the schools aren't teaching. A weekend schedule. Okay, well, um, let's see here. I do know, I mean, we're going to do another live class. We have educators now. We just hired Amber, who worked at NYU in Columbia. She's one of the teachers. And then also Dr. Monique Roberts, who's finishing her doctorate, is she's in educational administration. So we're really trying to sort of flesh out what does a Black business school for children really look like. Jen says Amber was absolutely amazing. Thank you. I'll tell her you said that. She's super professional. She's like a nice, smart lady, and they like to listen to her and stuff. And so anyway, we're gonna do that in the next couple of weeks. So if you want to sign your child up, I'll let you guys know in advance. And also, if you want to get something right away and start right away, we do have the animated class, Black Wealth Avengers, blackwealthavengers.com, which I think you're going to like that. It's basically animations that kids can watch that are fun, that will also introduce them to important financial concepts that will make a big difference to them later in life. And of course, we have flashcards and workbooks. So the workbooks are at financialworkbooks.com and the flashcards are financialflashcards.com. So we design workbooks for every grade band in stocks and investing and things like that. And then also for the flashcards, we have flashcards on everything from real estate to stock market investing to stock options to AI. We have AI flashcards, and also there's flashcards on my book, The 10 Commandments of Black Economic Power. So financialflashcards.com. Let's see, Jen, have you heard of SoFi Invest platform for investing? I like SoFi. I think SoFi is good. I think it's as good as any for sure. Clarence, does anyone on your team specialize in teaching or teaching car buying? Car buying. Nobody right now, Clarence. But if there's enough demand, we can go find somebody. A lot of times what we offer and so offer support on comes down to what you guys want, right? So definitely in B1 Village, you have the ability to submit things that you want to see from the Black Business School. Like, this is your institution. You're a part of this. So if you want to be if you want to give advice on things we should consider offering, yeah, if you log in at b1village.com, you can send a message directly to me. I'll pass it to the right person. There's a feed, a community feed. You can put it there. There is also a place where you can click on something in order to make a suggestion to the team. So if there's enough interest, then absolutely. Okay, so let me write this down. Okay, so car buying. Hadn't thought about a class on car buying, but that's interesting. Okay, let me explore there. Let's see. Do you think SPY's rallies is sustainable this week? I don't think so. I tend to believe what goes up comes down. But I think SPY is up again today. I think that the SPY measures the whole S&P 500, by the way, and I'm looking to see how it's doing. I think it's up today. I think that it might be a bullish day, but maybe I'm wrong. I got to go look and see. But yeah, I think it's gonna. Whenever things go up, I just prepare for when they come down. Like, the market will always have a dip. Dips. Okay, no, wait, it's down. I'm looking at it right now. Yes, it is down. Okay, so yeah, that's why I expected that. I mean, it had gone up for several days in a row. So how long is it going to keep going up, right? Let's see. Do you think? Let's see. Next question. How do I get notifications for stock market class? I thought I set them up, but they didn't come through. Okay, great question. Can you email our support team? And everybody keep this email address is support@theblackbusinessschool.com. Support@theblackbusinessschool.com. They can, Amani's right there. She can help you. She can talk to you about anything you need. Make sure that you're taken care of. Also, if you want to do a consultation with me, or you want to you want to advertise your business in our platform space, or you want to advertise at the convention, or you want us to come and do a training at your church, or whatever it is, just you can go to meetdrboyce.com, and you can fill out the form and let David know, and David will call you back to talk to you about whatever it is that you'd like to do in terms of partnership with the Black Business School. Please create a BBS endowment. Thank you for that suggestion, Christian. We actually are. We have a person that's sort of a specialist in nonprofits, and she's setting things up to have like a foundation that has where we can have the endowment and all that stuff. And I'm going to be a big donor to the endowment. Most of my wealth is going to go to the Black Business School, and then when if something happens to me, it'll be run by a board, and the centerpiece of all this will focus primarily on Black wealth and Black economic power. And to whatever extent that any HBCU that I interact with is interested in me sharing these ideas, then they're free to anyone that's interested, right? So I spoke to a dean at Grambling the other day, and I said, hey, yeah, whatever I can do to help the students understand what economic success, power, and safety, what economic safety and financial security looks like, I'm happy to do that, right? It's really saying like, okay, how does wealth matter more than everything else, and how do we make the main thing the main thing? Like, what are the pitfalls to wealth that sort of harm us? How is it that we have so many Black college graduates, but the net worth is going down? That doesn't make any sense. If you have so many hardworking people that are going to school and getting an education, the net worth is going down largely because of student loan debt. The debt is what's putting people underwater. Half of all Black college graduates default on their student loans. So even your best and your brightest are falling further and further behind. They're contributing to the wealth gap. So if you train them differently and you say, go with this, and you accelerate your income opportunities by gaining the skills of, say, an entrepreneur or whatever it is, or an investor, then that's going to make a world of difference. A world of difference. Let's see, Dr. Boyce, can you please add a place for us to list Black businesses? That's a great comment. I do actually have something set up, and I'll share the link next time. It's kind of like a marketplace sort of thing. We just hadn't had a chance to get to it. But that's a great point. Thank you. I took your options class January 2026. I have a level 3 account with E-Trade and am profitable year to date. Good for you, Nicole. I'm very happy to hear that. And remember, even if you're not feeling profitable, here's what I think about when I sell stock options, right? It helps me to kind of not get obsessed with a million different variables to measure success. I like it that way because I like to say, okay, what's the one or two things I need to do to make sure this thing works? So I literally think about it the way I think about starting a business. If I start a business, my main goal in that business is to make it profitable. Do you agree? Tell me if you agree. Tell me if that makes sense to you. Like, think about it. If you're starting a business with your cousin right now, and you both put 5,000 into the business to get it started, you put in $10,000, right? Think about this. You put in 10,000. Your goal is like, okay, how do we make money now, right? Now, okay. So let's say you don't make a lot of, let's say that you're not making money at first. Let's say that you do like a lot of businesses, and maybe let's say the first year you make 30,000. But then to keep the business going, you had to pour in another 40,000 to keep it going, right? Right. So this happens a lot, and it may be a decent business. You may keep going because maybe you love the business, or because you're hoping at some point you'll become profitable, right? That's why we keep going, right? And because it takes time. Well, the thing about it is that you've already put 30, 40, $50,000 into this thing, a big chunk of which you're not getting back, right? You don't wake up and say, okay, I put in 50,000 into this business. Can I sell it for $50,000? Or do you ever think that way? Is that something that you think would go through your head? Right? Do you say, gosh, I put in $50,000 worth of cash and another $80,000 worth of labor because I worked on this business 10 hours a day, 5 days a week, and right? You're not thinking, like, oh man, I'm 130,000 in the hole. You're focused on one variable. Can this thing give me positive cash flow? Right? So process it like this. Let's say that you do that. Let's say you put in $50,000 worth of cash, $80,000 in labor. So you're 130,000 in. You've made 30 grand. So you're 100,000 behind. You're red, man. Right? Now here's the thing. What if something great happens and it finally clicks? You finally find your customers, and the business is suddenly making you 5,000 a week, and your expenses are 2,000, so you're profitable, and you're making a $3,000 a week profit, but you're making 5,000 a week in revenue, so you're making about $250,000 a year, of which 60% of that is profit. Would you consider that to be a win? Like, would you look at that and say, okay, we did it. It was worth it. I my shea butter business is taking off. I'm doing good now. It's only up from here, right? You'd be excited about that, right? But here's the thing, though. This is the subtle thing that it takes a while for everybody to get this. You're actually kind of still in the hole a little bit, right? Because you put you over time you might have put $200,000, because remember, including the labor for year one and year two, and the money that you had to put in to just fix stuff or just pay for things that just to keep the thing going. You might have put in $250,000 and only have made 150,000 or whatever in the first year or two. And so you're still, if that business were valued like a stock, you would be led to believe that you lost money on that thing. You would look at it and you say, "Oh my God, this is in the red." The reason you would is because the stock market gives you a lot of information. The stock market is almost like what I call TMI. You know, TMI, like when I told y'all about how I was in Atlanta and the water stopped working and the toilets wouldn't flush. And then I had to stop talking because I realized that I was giving TMI, because don't nobody want to hear about what happened to the toilets in my house when I had no running water for 3 days. That's just nasty. That's TMI, boys. Stop that. Right? Well, that's the stock market does that. The stock market is a little TMI, because what'll happen is somebody will buy some stock. They'll be selling options on the stock. The stock price goes up and down, and the stock price may have a really bad 6 months. They're still making money selling the options. They're still making $1,000 a week, $500 a week selling the options, but they're so obsessed with the fact that the stock went down that it makes them feel like it's like a terrible thing. And I'm not saying it's a wonderful thing. I'm not saying that it's the best outcome. I'm saying that if your goal was to create an asset that's going to give you cash flow, you've accomplished that goal. That stock that you bought is a faster pathway to consistent cash flow than the shea butter business was. The shea butter business, you had to work your ass off for 2 straight years before you started making a profit. You sell stock options, you're making income from day zero. If you had enough money sitting to the side to go buy 100 shares of Micron stock, you're making $10,000 a month in income, and you're not putting out any effort to do this. This is not money. This is not money you work for. So all those tens of thousands of dollars worth of labor you'd have to put in, waiting for a chance to one day make money, none of that's there, because your capital, like when they say letting your money work for you, this to me is the epitome of that. This is one of the greatest examples of your money working for you. All you got to do is show up and buy 100 shares of the stock, and then you start selling options and you start making money. A lot of you are already doing this. Raise your hand if you're already doing this. So what I do, I'm not telling you how to do it, because no strategy is ever perfect, but I try not to get caught up in whether the stock's having a good year or a bad year. Stocks go up and down. That's what they do. But what remains consistent, like with my Micron stock, is I know that Micron will give me a certain amount of money that I can make from selling the options every month. It'll do that if the stock is at $1,000 a share. It'll do that if the stock is at $800 a share. It'll do that if the stock goes to $1,200 a share. It'll do that if the stock drops to $600 a share. Every month, I can still go in, sell that option, get my 5, 10, 15,000, whatever it is that month, and that becomes my income stream. It's not perfectly efficient, but when you compare it to the amount of money and labor people put into starting a business, where 80% of these businesses fail, and you have to wait a while before the money actually starts coming in, it's a far superior way to make money. Right? So really, this is what I love about selling stock options. It's a great way to pay bills, right? But it's like a business where you're pumping money into it constantly. If you're a plumber, you're gonna have to spend money. Oh, I had to buy me had to get new tires on my truck. I had to get some new plumbing equipment to make sure I could clear out the pipes, and I had to go get a new rotor like you always put money into a business, but you do that so you can do what? Maintain the business, so it keeps generating cash flow. The cash flow is the objective most of the time, because when you start a business, even though entrepreneurs make more money or they have a higher net worth than most entrepreneurs couldn't sell their business if they wanted to. At least if I buy my Micron stock, I've always got a market ready to buy it if I ever decide to go out of business with Micron. If I want to get out of the business, I just go in, find out what the price is at that moment. Okay, here's what you get, $89,000. Okay, bam, here. Take my stock, give me my money. You can't do that with a business. This is the value of a healthy financial market. So don't overstate that. Don't overlook that. All right. So let me let you guys go. I got calls I got to take. If you want to join Prime, that's where we do that's it's all about options income. It's about income and consistency. That's the goal. That's it. It's not about owning things that go up and down in value. It's about income and consistency. So if you want to join us, just feel free to go to drboyceprime.com. I think you're going to like it, drboyceprime.com. Okay, and also, or you can also text the word options to the number 87948, and I'll notify you when we have class. In fact, do that regardless. That way you'll know when we have class and you can pop in. So text options to 87948. All right, so I'm out of here, guys. Have a great day. Thank you so much for listening. And